Yet another tariff deadline is looming, and in the middle of the night, in a social media post, U.S. President Donald Trump said a deal with Canada won't be easy. This comes after Prime Minister Mark Carney said yesterday that Canada plans to back statehood for Palestine at September's meeting of the UN General Assembly. And if a deal isn't reached, we should see a 35% tariffs starting tomorrow. This as our economy is already dealing with heavy tariffs on steel, aluminum, and automobiles. So, of course, we bring in Dalhousie University political science, Lori Turnbull, to chat with us on the latest threatening hike. Good morning, Lori.
Good morning.
Well, we've been here before. Steep tariffs are threatened, and then there's a reduction or even a pause at the last minute. And we've been expecting these hikes on August 1st for a while. Any reason to think it won't happen tomorrow?
Just Donald Trump. Never know what he's going to do next, really, or if he's going to go through with what he said he would do, or if he, as you say, will he do a reduced version of this? It's hard to tell. We know that he's made these deals with Japan, with the European Union, where they seem to have managed to get to a baseline of 15% tariffs, which is still lousy, but not 35%, which is what he threatened us with tomorrow. It's hard to tell whether they're making any kind of real progress at all. My reading of what the prime minister is saying is that they're talking, and the conversations they're saying there's a point to it. They're getting somewhere. But when he says, we're not going to just take whatever's on the table, we're gonna wait and take what's best for Canada. I really think they're trying to manage our expectations. I don't think we're going to see any kind of deal by tomorrow.
So, I mean, given those two deals with Japan and the EU, does that put extra pressure on Canada?
I don't think so. I think we are in a different situation with the United States because our relationship with them is so integral to our economy. They're our biggest market. They're our biggest trading partner. But for the US, the EU is their biggest trading partner. And so these tariffs have, obviously a huge effect on us, but they also have an effect on American prices, and they're going to start having more of an effect on American prices because a lot of corporations have been kind of like sucking this up and trying to hold the prices steady and not pass it on to the consumer in the hopes that the tariff situation could be resolved in the short to medium term, and then you wouldn't see the fluctuation in prices. But they can't keep doing that. So it is going to have an effect on the American market more so in the coming weeks and months. But Canada's share of those goods, right, compared to the EU, we are not as big a deal in the American market as the EU is. And so I'm not it's just kind of not quite the same thing. And then, of course, he's keeping the 50% tariffs on steel and aluminum. And that is hugely painful for Canada in ways that it isn't for other countries. And so it's hard to know. And even when it comes to Trump's approach to Canada, he's certainly given the impression that Canada is not a big fish to fry for him. And I kind of believe that. But he hasn't said as much about Canada as the 51st state in a while. I'm not sure if that's out of respect for the prime minister, who he seems to like a lot more than he did Justin Trudeau. But I still wonder whether he has plans in his head for Canada, if he still thinks, that this would be some outcome that would actually be possible, right? And so I'm just not sure how he sees this unfolding, but I do know that he loves tariffs and he thinks that the rest of the world should pay for America's financial problems.
Right, exactly. We see him take to Twitter saying that it's not going to be easy to make a deal with Canada. So that kind of leads you to the side that we think that it's going to go through with these higher tariffs, correct?
Right. I think that's certainly a possibility that he'll go through with this. And this threat of the 35% tariffs if we don't reach a deal by August 1st. I suspect that was a way of trying to jam Canada so that we'd feel like we have to come up with something, and we'd have to just kind of accept what he wants between now and then. And now it's right around the corner. That's tomorrow. But he also did that kind of like to about 20 countries where he sent world leaders letters that are like copy and paste almost like it was verbatim some parts of those letters, and then he would stick in some things that were relevant to the country that was receiving that particular letter, and it was all the same kind of like, the US is being treated unfairly and it's time for the other country to kind of step up, and unless we want to change everything and put all of our manufacturing in the US, in which case approvals will be really quick. Like it's the kind of or else was we were never going to do that stuff. We were never going to change things like it's not even possible. And so it just seems like it's political more than it is economic. And as a number of people have pointed out, these deals that he made with EU and with Japan, there's no big trade pact around that with a big document that everybody signed. It's just like, this is what we're going to do now. And so even if we made a deal today, which I don't think we will, it's not like it's going to be a typical trade pact where everybody is signatory to it and it takes legal effect. We might have to agree to things like investing a whole bunch of money in American military, but there's no enforcement to it. So it's very odd. The whole thing, everything with him is very odd.
I mean, the fact that Prime Minister Carney announced yesterday that Canada is planning on recognizing Palestine as a state in September, given the U.S. ties to Israel, does that impact these negotiations?
It's possible, sure. Like given everything, given the importance of that, given certainly Trump's has said over and over again, like he is extremely concerned with what's going on in that situation. But the only reason that I'm not totally sure how much effect that's going to have is that it seems like the conversations that are going on, they're not saying that Carney and Trump are sitting down and having these conversations, right? Like if that were the case, Trump's like personal situation when it comes to the emphasis he's placing on that. It's not that the others are placing emphasis on it, but I'm just not sure if it's not like Carney and Trump are sitting down at a table and meeting this all out. Carney is in Canada. It was yesterday anyway, and he's sending down, like Dominic LeBlanc is down having these conversations.
Right.
He's sending down his chief of staff, and so it's a bit different.
Fair enough. Well, Lori, thank you so much for your insights. As always, a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you so much for having me.